Alright, so this is an idea I've always tried for years and years, but I've never really went through with it, and that's a Smash stage list. Now, recently I made a top 10 for each game, but as I was doing that I realized I was only coming up with about 6 or 7 from each game, and then the rest felt like grasping. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be better to take what I had picked and then mush them all together, and as a result we got a top 30 Smash stages, because there's just really a lot of good ones. Some of them I'll have quick things to say about, some of them I won't. The only rule is no Battlefield, no Final Destination, because that just kind of feels like cheating. Alright, secret for you, this was actually top 25, but once I realized I found a few Smash 3DS videos online, I was like, screw it, let's add a couple more instead of deleting and replacing some. So now it's a 30. And at the bottom of my list, I'm going to put the Spirit Train. It's at the bottom because stage hazards are just a dumb idea. But for the idea of the stage itself, I love it. I think it's super cool and super great. I just wish it weren't stage hazards. So it's got to be at the bottom because it's only really fun for me to play in something like Final Destination mode. But outside of that, it's insanely cool and I love the idea behind it. I just wish it played a little bit better than what it did. Next up, it's lower on there because, again, stage hazards. If it weren't for the flying man, this would be a damn perfect level. I love the music, I love the visuals, I love the idea behind it. It's a great level, but because the flying man, I could only stomach to play it in Final Destination mode. I don't know what Nintendo's obsession was with fighting the game itself, but I'm not trying to do that. I just want to play a good level that's designed well, and this is it, minus the flying man. I think it's the best Earthbound level we've had thus far, honestly. See, originally I was just gonna, if I made this top 25, this wouldn't make the cut, and I know someone would get mad at me for not including this one. Hyrule Temple. Now this one's so low because honestly I only think it's fun in Melee and absolutely nothing else. I don't think it holds up nearly as good in Brawl or nearly as good in Smash 4. The reason for that is because I think it's funny to hang at the bottom of the stage and then throw motion sensor bombs on the ceiling and then try and throw people into that and then watch the physics go to fucking town. With that in mind, that only works in Melee because those bombs don't just dissipate after 10 seconds and it works more with the physics in mind. So it's just a lot more fun when you're having something like that going on, especially when you also have the chance of a barrel cannon careening out of the sky and then swooping in, taking one of you away, and then you gotta hope you can blast yourself right back onto land. So for the pure chaos that only Melee can endure, I fancy it a lot better in that game, and I don't think it holds up in any other rendition. This one, again, it's also kind of this thing, like, I mean, technically we haven't played it outside Smash 64. I loved the shit out of it in Smash 64. I loved the R-Wings coming in, shooting you. I liked that you could jump on them and then they'd fly you into space. It was always some stupid game I'd play as a kid. But honestly, it's a huge stage, and these days I don't like stages that are bigger than life itself. So I like the stage a lot, but the size is kind of what deters me. If they brought it back and they could make it feel, I don't know, a little bit smaller, but still give that exciting feeling it had, I'd be all about it. But there's another reason why this one falls short, and we'll get into that later. Now this one's simple, and I like it a lot, mostly just because when you go through the Brawl stages, again, it feels like something was missing. It felt more like they were trying to do flashy visuals over simple and good stage design. So having a really simple stage like this with no real gimmick outside of one that's incredibly easy to avoid and hardly a hindrance, it makes me like it and appreciate it that much more. Also, Twilight Princess is a pretty great game, so simple stage, a lot of fun. It's a nice breath of fresh air in Brawl, so I appreciate it. Okay, so I think a lot of the Smash 64 stages are just easily designed and really good and memorable. And I know you could argue stage hazard for this one, but again, I feel like this is so easy to avoid, it's hardly an issue. And I never really cared about it as a kid, honestly, I don't think I did. But when you get it as Smash 4 DLC, and then again, it's that breath of fresh air because you're like, holy shit, a stage that's actually good, you appreciate it that much more. So I like it. It's a lot of fun. I guess, nostalgia if you want to say it, but I don't feel nostalgic towards it. I just appreciate it more because I understand that it was designed better back then than it is these days. So as that result, I'm more interested in playing it today than I was before. This one's also, again, like, it wasn't my favorite as a kid, but because of things like Smash 4 DLC, you really, really appreciate how good of a stage it actually is by comparison of just about everything else they had to offer at that time. So yeah, you're gonna hear me ragging on Smash 4 a lot. Simple design, easy concept, memorable music. My favorite memory with this one was I was playing with my brother and he was about to die, and I was about to die. I was playing as Yoshi, he was Jigglypuff, and as I ran out of my flutter kick, I gave up, did the ground pound, and on my way down, I hit him. He bounced off the bottom of the stage and then skyrocketed downward, and that gave me the kill, and I think that was the funniest thing. I know it's probably hard to imagine, or it's more of just a thing that's funny to me, but for that reason, this one sticks with me a little bit more than Hyrule Castle 64 does. Now this one I do remember loving a lot as a kid, mostly just because it was Pokemon, and at that time Pokemon was the primary thing I knew and understood. But I kind of miss this one. I want to see them bring it back, and I want to see it, like, modernized and revisited and see how much better, or if it holds up at all. When I play it in Project M, I don't mind it. I think it's pretty fun. When I play it in Smash 64, which is hardly ever, I enjoy it. But like, it's got this weird feeling where it's like I loved it, but at the same time, I don't think about it all that often, so I can't put it as my all-time favorite because it's just like, yeah, I enjoyed that, but I never go back to it kind of thing. This one right here is all about the simplicity, and I love it. So, for starters, the music's fucking great, but it's a simple stage, it's really easy, it's really fun, nothing's in your way, it's just a fight, that's it. That's what I really like about this stage. It's also super easy to get kills, and it's just a lot of fun. All you really gotta do is hang by the edge and then just throw someone if you want, but for whatever reason, this just kinda stood out, and it felt like nice to try and compete to see who could get the other on the brink of death, and who was that close that you could really feel like a challenge kind of coming in, and I think that's what I liked about it. The fact that, like, again, simple design, nothing was in your way. It was all on you. This was another one where it's like I didn't really appreciate it and all that at first, but once it came out on Melee, I was like, oh yeah! And I remembered that level, and I enjoyed it then, and I enjoy that it's in Smash 4 now, and I just overall enjoy it. So I think for the sake of this game reminds me and brings it back, and I just think it's aged well, I like it a lot. It's pretty looking, it's got good music, it's simple, it's fun, that's really all there is to it. It feels like the one that's probably aged almost the best out of the entire 64 collection. This one's kind of more personal and sentimental, and I completely know why it is. So Smash Brawl had like this thing of touring levels or whatever, and it's a moving stage, flashy visuals and all that, and I didn't really like it, but the one I liked more than all of them was the one of Delfino Plaza, because I had this huge itch to play Super Mario Sunshine, and at that time I didn't have that game. So playing on that stage was the closest I got to hear the Delfino Plaza theme and just enjoy myself like that. So as that result, I kind of grew an emotional attachment to it, and I still just enjoy and love playing it today. It's a lot of fun, and I'm not sure any other moving stage like this will ever kind of give me that feeling. Yet again, like, every time you hear me, it's gonna be like this. You appreciate the stages in Smash 4 that are really good, and I hate to say it, but just about all of them are DLC. If it weren't for DLC, I don't think I could make a top 4 Smash stages list, but yeah, no, this is one of the better ones. It's, from Bayonetta standpoints, it's very symbolic, it makes a lot of sense, it's an obvious first choice for them to do it, I think it works very well. It's a very simple design level. There's a nice flashy background, but it's not interfering with anything. See, I didn't like the Lilac Cruise and Brawl because I felt like it was too busy. This one feels like you can focus on the action, but still, like, appreciate the scenery and the visuals that are occurring with it. The only real gripe I have is I feel like out of the entire soundtrack of Bayonetta that they've got that's really good, they didn't pick too many songs that are good and put it on Smash. I feel like there's a lot better they could have pulled from, and they just didn't do it, and it kind of makes me upset. Alright, so this one's got a little bit of personal attachment too. Honestly, I kind of prefer the Melee version over the modern versions, but I don't mind it so much. It doesn't matter to me. I just enjoy the idea that they just fall straight down to their death opposed to being whisked away, but I suppose even then, it's still lethal. My favorite thing about it, and I know it kind of goes against everything I say, but it's because it's such a rarity that I don't mind it. And that's when the claptrap's attacking, because again, it's such a rarity. So when you're there hanging by the edge, or the AI is, and you see them get fucking snapped by a claptrap and they plummet completely to their death, there's something kind of entertaining about it. It hardly ever happens. So when it does, and even if it happens to you, you go, oh man. You don't get mad at it, you just kind of laugh about it because it's such a funny occurrence. So for that reason, I like Jungle Japes. It's entertaining to me. It doesn't bother me. There you go. Alright, so there's going to be another thing that you're going to notice a lot, and that's going to be, I'm going to say that I feel like of all of the stages, that this one feels like it was made for Smash. And I feel like that's exactly what this one is. So, for starters, complaint number one is the cannonballs. I don't really like those when you drive by it and then the guys shoot at you. I'm not a fan of that. The catapult, I probably should mind, but I don't. Other than that, I think that it is a perfect level and I love it a lot. It's the exact way you should be defining Wind Waker, and it fits fantastically. So yes, I love the pirate ship. That's one of the better stages in Brawl, and I appreciate it a lot. Alright, another one that feels like it's literally perfect for this game is Luigi's Mansion. Because it kind of doesn't matter what you throw Luigi's Mansion into, it just feels like a natural perfect fit, and it's so nice and so iconic and so memorable. So of course it's going to stand out. And again, good music, good fun stage. The whole destructible bringing back up thing I'm kind of half and half about, but other than that, I think it's super fun. I love it a lot. Just a really good, simple stage. There you go. This is another one where you can go ahead and say it's literally perfect for this game. Because, of course, in a Mario-styled game, Peach's Castle is going to be one of the first things you think of. Now, I like this rendition. I know the Project M community doesn't care for Bonsai Bill, and, like, I'm against stage hazards, but again, this is one that's so easy to avoid, there's not really an excuse I have for it. This is kind of like the claptrap, where when you see it, like, my goal is to try and throw an AI into it and watch them get blasted away to hell, because it's just so easy to avoid, and I think it's a lot more fun that way. It's so interesting to be like, yes, the Bonsai Bill approaches, we must offer it a sacrifice, or something like that. So there's a lot of fun to it, and again, fighting on top of Peach's Castle is just so simple, so iconic, there's not really much more to say about it. It's literally a perfect fit. I think I like simple stages a lot. This is one that it feels so grand and epic, mostly because of the music, but from a design standpoint, it's really, really simple. There's not too much to it. Visually, it's very, very pretty. The idea of the Fountain of Dreams is a good concept, a good idea for a stage, so I like that a lot. But from just a fighting perspective, it's real simple, but it's super fun, and I like it. I would have no complaints if they brought it back at all, so there you go. Fountain of Dreams is a bueno. This one has a little bit of interest to it, and like, I know it's one where you could argue against it and say you dislike it, and that's totally fine. I get it. I won't argue with you, but I think it's super cool and interesting. So for starters, the Spirit Pillow music, incredibly good. I like it a lot. Then it's a nice battlefield. The cave below is pretty nice. The flat surface with the little battleground pillars, that's really nice. And then they try and psych you out with Dialga and Palkia literally messing with space and time around you, spicing up the fight a bit. So when you're playing against a human, that's totally fine and perfect. When you're playing against an AI, you can complain a bit because the AI, I mean, they understand the difference between left from right, so something like a dimensional change doesn't phase them as much as it phases you. But I like that kind of challenge. I like being able to be on my toes and be prepared for it and try and do my best. I'm not going to do perfectly, I'll admit that, but it's still a lot of fun and I like it a lot, so I'm totally for it. So I'm also kind of a sucker for the whole 8-bit style and retro thing, which I suppose you could argue with Mushroom Kingdom 2 as well. But I think this is hands down the best F-Zero stage we've ever gotten, primarily for the idea that not only is it, you know, nice, pretty, and 8-bit, but it's also super consistent and functioning. So the problem I've had with other F-Zero stages is, like, you're always getting hit by other cars, or you're prone to being left behind or something like that. As to where with this, the cars are the platforms, and it's consistently there with you, so you always have that safe zone to land on, and that's what I like. You don't ever feel like you can get left behind on the racetrack or anything. You hit it, it acts kind of like Brinstar from Smash 64 does. You got your safe zone, you got a bad zone. I think this is what we need, and I'm so upset that all of the good Smash 4 stages ended up on the 3DS. So to me, this is more hectic and more entertaining than Hyrule Temple. This was the original idea of the whole hanging underneath the warp pipe, or the under as me and my brother called it. You know, that was the bottom section of Hyrule Temple. But this was a little bit more interesting, more chaotic, because it was a smaller, more enclosed space, and you're more likely to zigzag ping pong around. Include things like the POW block, the little, what do you even call it, seesaw? The balance that goes away and stuff like that, and it's just a simple and visually pleasing thing with a lot of fun to it. I like it, and there's another one of those stages where I would be totally down with them bringing it back, but it was hands down one of the most rewarding unlocks to get in Smash, and one of the most fun stages to play on. Loved it a lot. So this is the primary reason I don't think they'll ever bring back Sector Z, because Corneria is just Sector Z but better. Now, I don't think the R-Wings correspond in the exact same way they do in Sector Z, so for that, it feels like it's kind of missing that tiny charm to it. But Corneria is largely scaled down and a lot more fun, and it has that same appeal because it's the same stage. It's just scaled down with no R-Wing shit, so it's like you'll win some, you'll lose some. And a lot of these stages, it feels like it, when you're having a fight on it, it feels like every single fight is so epic or powerful and strong, and it's kind of hard to put into words with some of these, but that feeling is there even if I do or don't say it. This one I like a lot, mostly for the conceptual basis upon it. So yes, it can have a possibility of stage hazards, but I don't really see that too often, so I don't mind. But the idea of Mario Maker is that it's a completely randomly generated stage. What I think is pathetic is the idea that this randomly generated stage is more playable than half the shit in the Smash 4 library to begin with. So I like it, but I kind of hate it. I like the theme switching it's got going on, especially the overture, where it switches depending on what background there is. I like that a lot. It's a lot of fun. When you play it, you're always getting something different as well, so there's like a huge replayability to that as well. I'm not a competitive guy, so something like that doesn't really bother me, but I have a lot of fun playing on that stage, and I like that they tried to do something different and unique with it. This is quite literally the definition of this level was made for Smash, because no fucking shit is Pokemon Stadium gonna be like the first thing you think of when you're gonna think of some Pokemon based level. I feel kind of bad for them because I feel like the Pokemon Stadium 2 level in Brawl didn't quite hold up, because this just worked so perfectly. It was, you know, the four elements, it felt Kanto, it felt that sense, I guess, of nostalgia. It feels like super close to the anime, and it's literally the perfect kind of fighting arena for something like that, and it's just so memorable, and they captured it very well, and I love it. The scoreboard's great, showing who's in the lead, that kind of shit. Like, it makes the fight feel so much grander and built for what's going on, and I love that. This is really weird because, like, there's no discernible reason for any of us to love this stage as much as we do, but we do, and that's why it keeps coming back. It's came back in both Melee and in Smash 4, and, like, one of the things I think about when I think about how good the stage is was just because of the music, but it's just Gourmet Race. That appeared also in the Fountain of Dreams, and I'm pretty sure it's also an option for the Halberd stage as well. But I love this stage, I love this music. It's basically just Battlefield, but it's so grand, it's so epic, it's Wispy Woods, it's Kirby, it's a lot of fun. There's really no way to express why this is as good as it is, but it's good, and you really appreciate it and love it, and it shows because it just keeps coming back. Again, I'm a total sucker for the whole 8-bit thing, so I like this stage a lot. The only thing I dislike about it is just that there's a stage hazard in it. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I think it's like a star or some shit. But if you remove that, the stage is literally flawless. It's a lot of fun. I love the NES style. Feels very charming. It's set up in such a way that feels interesting and fun, and nothing's really a hindrance to you, so I like it a lot. But because that one stage hazard, I typically play it in Final Destination mode, but it's still good enough for me to give it all the praise in the world and say I love it a lot. This is probably one of the best Brawl stages ever. I like the music, but I know that's also because, you know, you can pick the music. I think Wildlands is my favorite one. I like the seasonal change. I like the simplistic design where, like, I don't know, it's weird. It feels like it has, like, it's obviously not a flat surface, but it feels like it has that kind of element while still having some variety, like that top platform that tilts around, and it's just a lot of fun. The little, I don't know what the fuck they're called, that pop up out of the ground that can save you, the shy guys that come around and bring food. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. I think it's a pretty stage. It's good, it's memorable, and yet again, you really appreciate it because there's no stage hazard bullshit, and there was no stupid extra distracting elements on it for Brawl, so it really made it that much more memorable in that little gem outside of the whole Brawl and Smash 4 library. Now, I know I'm completely alone on this one, but I love it to death. This is one where it feels like they tried to be a little bit flashy, but they made it work. So, kind of like with the Umbra Clock Tower, where you've got that one little element in the background, but it's not super overpowerful and distracting. You've also got a little gimmick with the stage, which is that it flips over. I think that's cool. It doesn't really ever hinder or kill you or catch you off guard. You got plenty of warning. You're always ready for it, and it's really easy to adjust to. The platform segments all over it are super simple, well laid out, enjoyable. The music is fantastic, so for all those reasons, it's my favorite Brawl stage in general, and is usually the first choice I always go to. This again was such a perfect idea that I feel so bad about, because once I saw this, like at the time I didn't plan on getting a 3DS. I wanted a Wii U. I wanted to play Smash 4 on the Wii U, but I ended up getting both versions anyway. And I seriously think that the 3DS has the better stages, and I think that they'd be a lot better on the Wii U, and you could like mix the libraries together. Because this is so much better than the Pac-Lane bullshit that they got. This is literally perfect. I have no complaints other than, again, stage hazards. If it weren't for stage hazards, it would be a perfect level. I love the visual style, I love the color scheming, I love just everything about it, even the music that goes with it. It's fantastic. I just wish I didn't have to fight against the game itself. That's my only complaint. If you nullify that and bring the stage back, 10 out of 10, you got me. Yet again, the literal definition of made for this game, the boxing ring. Because the music is perfect, it's got the same kind of feeling that the stadium does, where, you know, you got this huge audience, this crowd, this stage, this screen, like everything is there and grand and epic and makes the battle and fight feel so much more important than it is. It's got great music to accompany it. Now, if they just left it where it was literally that ring and then the rest around it was a pit, I would be totally chill with that. But the idea that they don't, it's kind of like, but at the same time it doesn't bother me so much. Having ground doesn't really bother me. The ceiling light falling on you bothers me a tiny bit, but I can get over it. I love the overall feeling you get when you're playing on that stage, and it feels like the pinnacle, the must-see fight that's happening, and it blows it into such a higher standard. Now, I know, again, I'm completely alone on this one, but, like, when I think of my favorite Smash stages, this is always the first one that comes to mind. And the reason for that, outside of the music being fucking fantastic, is because Kraid also possesses this huge, immense presence accompanying the stage. So he's there, he's your focus, you realize the scale of what's going on. The idea that he controls everything you do, and I like that. It's great to me. I know that, like, it's not for everyone, and I can understand that. Like, there can be a complaint where if they fall down in this little island and they're stuck down there or whatever, they can hide. But I don't know, it doesn't really bother me at all. It's kind of a bias. I won't even argue with you. I just love the overall power and feeling you get on that stage. Alright, so that was my list. I'll admit I don't think I did exactly the best job explaining it, but at the same time I'm kind of not complaining because there was 30 of them, and this is probably going to total out to be a hugely long video, so I kind of apologize for that. But if you don't mind, I don't mind. So there you go. Now I can finally put it to rest and say it's done, it's over with, till the next Smash game comes out and I end up with a whole bunch more stages I like, but I don't think I'll redo that. I'll see you guys later. You can leave me whatever your favorites are. It's JC4R. Goodbye.